I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Well, it's another Saturday morning forum, and we are grateful that you are with us today. I'm Reverend William Hall. I'm the pastor of St. James Community Church here in Chicago. And first thing first, we want to welcome you. Those of you that are watching us online on Impact Network, those of you that are watching on TV on the Impact Network, we're grateful that you're with us today because we want to celebrate. We're starting off this broadcast celebrating the life of both son and mother. None other than Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, the mother of Jesse Lewis Jackson Jr. That's right, we're celebrating mother and son. Again, today, those of you that are watching, put it in the comments. Happy birthday, Miss Jackson, and happy birthday, Jesse Jr. What a joy it is to witness 2 generations of legacy right here at Rainbow Push. And so, Mrs. Jackson, we love you. Jesse Jr., we're grateful for you and love you as well. Today, we want to celebrate the life, the legacy, and the memory of none other than Mr. Purvis Spann. Where will the world be if it wasn't for WVON, the voice of the Negro? And so we're thankful for Mr. Purvis Spann, and we're grateful for his daughter, Melody Spann Cooper, who's leading the way. But we're praying for them this Saturday. And if you don't know about the contribution of Mr. Purvis Spann, I suggest today you take a second and Google him.
Purvis Spann was the voice of Black Chicago during a time when many were fighting in the community to be heard.
His impact was huge. He's an icon in Chicago in 2 areas. One, of course, is radio. Exclusively, Motown Records out of Detroit brought their records here and gave them to WVON to be played first. Purvis was also a promoter, a entertainment show promoter, probably one of the largest in the country, but definitely the largest in Chicago. His shows were at places like the Regal Theater, and he crowned Aretha Franklin at the Regal Theater, that he'd known for many, many years, as the Queen of Soul.
Indigo studio publisher Hermine Hartman says having Spann's backing mattered. Spann was born in 1932 in Mississippi. He moved to Chicago after his time in the Army toward the end of the Korean War. Spann attended the Midway Television Institute and the Midwestern Broadcasting School on the GI Bill. He later purchased WVON in the late 1970s.
It was a big challenge, but he was able to hang in there, and it just turned out to be something that I'm not even sure he knew it was as great as it was.
The launch man for Harold Washington and for President Barack Obama. So across these years, this is a station with the smallest wattage but the most production.
Hartman says Spann's legacy will not be forgotten.
He made Chicago a better place, and for Black Chicago, he gave us a real voice.
Where would we be if it wasn't for WVON, the voice of the Negro? And so on today, we are praying for his family, Melody Spann Cooper, who's doing a great job as the chair of Midway Broadcast, and we're praying for her siblings and family. Melody, we love you, and we are grateful for none other than Mr. Purvis Spann. WVON, the voice of the nation and the voice of the Negro. And so last but not least, you all, as we always do, we want you to call someone, text someone, because today is part 2 of Selma. We're going to go back, take a trip down memory lane. We're going to hear some more conversations, get some insight on the importance of that Saturday, but where are we now and where are we going? So the push is on, you all. Those of you that want to catch this broadcast, you came in a little late or just want to share it with someone, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Those of you on Impact Network, again, we're grateful for you, but you can save it, DVR it. And those of you on Facebook, again, share it, because the push is on. We definitely have work to do.
Black evolution is Black girl evolution, bold, beautiful, and brilliant. I am Black girl evolution, bold, beautiful, and brilliant. I'm not just a girl. I'm not just black, a person with dark skin. I'm a Black girl, bold in my convictions, beautiful inside and out, brilliant in words and in deeds. When you see me, don't be afraid. I am approachable. Don't hold on to your belongings tighter. When you see me, you don't need to be ready to hold my earrings, thinking I'm ready to throw down. I'm refined and teachable. I am a Black girl, special in every way. There's nothing I cannot do. I am capable of more than you know. In 3 words, I am phenomenal. There's a Black evolution going on, a Black girl evolution. My Black is more than just a race, it's a lifestyle. I'm the continuation of my history, culture, and heritage. I represent the legacy and tradition of powerful, resilient people. My foremothers have meaning through me. I stand today because of who they were. There's a Black girl evolution happening here and now. My presence is essential. I'm the demonstration of the past, representing the unlimited possibilities of the present and hope and inspiration for the future. I have a voice. It is unique. I say what needs to be said. I don't waste my voice on gossip. I don't disrespect myself, my sisters, or other people. I understand the power of spoken words. I use mine wisely. There is a Black girl evolution taking place where beauty is viewed beyond the physical. I know my worth. I value who I am. I hold myself in high esteem. I hold scarce my body, my mind, my spirit, and my heart. I'm the embodiment of my ideals fostered by my parents. There's a Black girl evolution forging ahead. It is brilliant and visionary. Anchored by love, propelled by integrity, and advanced by faith. I bow to no one, only my Creator. For my God protects me and guides me, always and in all situations. I'm committed to learning and improving all aspects of my life, serving others to accomplish the highest and greatest good while being the best version of me. There's a Black girl evolution taking center stage, and I am right in the midst of it. As a Black girl, I am resolute in my beliefs and steadfast in my pursuit for a future that holds great possibilities and opportunities for me, my family, my people, and girls like me. I am revolutionary, respectful, and responsible. I am fiery, focused, and flexible. I am heroic, humble, and honorable. I am determined, dynamic, and destined for greatness. I am proud, passionate, and powerful. I am the manifestation of success, committed to moving obstacles with elegance and grace. I am Black girl evolution, bold, beautiful, and brilliant.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. And we would like to invite you to attend the next event in our critical thinking series entitled Redefining America's Education Agenda. Push for Excellence recognizes that our nation is experiencing a national mental health crisis. And as a direct result, this event is designed to focus on mental health, the factors that contribute to declining mental health, and the types of support systems that should be put in place to help children and the adults that serve them in developing the mental strength of a warrior. You may register for this free live virtual event by visiting pushexcel.org. We look forward to seeing you there.
Well, it's Women's History Month. I am so excited. I have 2 members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Women's History Month, and not just the organization that is the first African American women's sorority, but we want to talk about African American women in business. These 2 ladies have started, I think, the largest and the first African American female-owned accounting firm, right?
Not the first, because the first was started by a woman, Sue Washington. We actually own the largest Black woman-owned public accounting firm.
Largest Black woman-owned public accounting firm in the United States.
In the United States.
And so this is Kimmy Brown, you're a partner?
Yes.
And this is Alicia Benford?
Yes.
You're a partner?
I'm a partner as well.
These are founders of this institution. Tell me, Kimmy, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Kimmy Ellen. Kimmy Brown Ellen, because I like that last name because our firm is Benford Brown and Associates. And with Benford Brown and Associates, we started in 1996. So we've been around for 25 years. We're actually in our 26th year. And we are a full service public accounting firm. So we do audits, accounting, forensic audits, fiscal services.
Do you do my taxes?
Do your taxes too. We do a lot of taxes. We do a couple thousand taxes.
You need to get your taxes done. You want someone that has a CPA on staff to make sure. If you haven't filed in years, you need what's it, Kimmy Brown and Benford Brown and Associates?
Yes, she's Benford, I'm Brown.
Benford Brown. So, where'd you go to college?
I went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, number 1 accounting school in the United States. And
do they pay you to say that?
No, but I love my Illini, even though my money went to Howard and North Carolina A&T.
And that's because you realize that HBCU educations are the best.
And you went to?
I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University School of Business and Industry.
I remember when Anesta Proflo was there as the dean of the School of Business, powerful African-American woman. So tell me a little bit about your firm.
Yes, so as Kimmy said, we started our firm in 1996. Kimmy and I actually met our first day at our first job out of college at Deloitte & Touche. We stayed friends. And we decided that we wanted to venture out and do our own thing. And I think at the time we started, we were just doing tax returns.
We just started with tax returns. But what happened was I saw what they were billing us out for. And I said, we could do this ourselves. And so we decided to start the firm. And actually, it was Benford Brown because at the time, our names were Ellen and Lee. And we thought that sounded too girly. So we thought that Benford Brown sounded more masculine.
It does.
It's a male-dominated profession,
right?
And also, we wanted to be at the top of the alphabetical list. So Benford was
B&B, huh?
Right.
Benford was much. Yep, that was.
So how many people do you have, employees?
Right now, we have about 30 employees.
Oh wow!
And our employees are here in Chicago, in the suburbs, as well as Missouri, Georgia, and North Carolina.
So you really are national.
Absolutely.
You know how to keep my personal from my business.
Absolutely. We call that co-mingling.
Clearly, we've been together a long time.
And so we want to make sure that our owners are protecting themselves by filing the appropriate corporate documents, but also that you're not commingling funds.
How difficult is it for women in this business?
I think it's easier now than it used to be. When we first came in, it's definitely a male-dominated industry. And it was
like law.
Like law. Yes. And what was really interesting, so there's an organization called the Diverse Organization of Firms, and we are the National Association of Black CPA and Financial Services Firms. And I'm actually the current chairman, and I'm the first woman to ever chair this in almost 40 years. So when the first day I walked into one of our first training classes, like 20 years ago, I looked around and it was like 50 men and Alicia and I and 2 other women. And so, I've been on this quest to find all the Black female CPAs in the country. So
how many do we have in the country?
We think there are about 1,000.
Really?
That's it.
What would you say to people that are watching you? Well, young girls are watching you.
To young girls that are watching us, we always like to tell them to follow their dreams. We were able to do that, and I would never look back. We worked in corporate America for a while, some pretty high-name profile companies. My mother worked for McDonald's Corporation, so I followed her footsteps, working for Motorola. We worked for Deloitte & Touche.
Worked for Ameritech, SBC.
Yeah. But when we decided that we wanted to work for ourselves, I think that was the best decision that we ever made, because we feel like we own our own future, and we enjoy what we do, and we feel like we're able to help other people. So,
oh, that's great. Yeah. So we got FAMU, UI,
UIUC, go Illini.
Co-rattlers.
There you go.
So what else would you like to leave with our viewing audience? This is Women's History Month, and these young women are making history, and we wanted you to know about them. How can they reach you?
We can be found online, www.benfordbrown.com.
www.benfordbrown.com.
You can Google us. You can find us if you Google us. But what I want women to know is to start to take care of your financial house, put your financial house in order, know everything about your finances, and learn to build generational wealth.
So if I want to build generational wealth, what do I need to do? Where do I start?
Stop shopping. No,
really? You heard it from her. I didn't tell you to stop shopping.
Really, what you do is you figure out your financial picture. So write down every single organization, person, whatever you owe. Write down every single thing you own and take a look at it. And then start to chip away at who you owe and grow what you own. The biggest thing is to start to invest early and often. When my children were born, I immediately started investing for them. So invest early and often, and it will grow.
And I always say, if you can't figure out how to do it yourself, you need to pay the people that can do it and develop that dream team. Find a good CPA, find a good investment advisor, find a good attorney, find those people that you trust that can do that for you.
So you're a good CPA, right?
Yes.
This is it? The largest
You can become a part of your
CPA
dream team.
firm. They want to be a part of your dream team. You keep dreaming big. It's Women's History Month. Brothers, don't hate on us.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Selma, Alabama began the 57th year of the community march on 7th Independence Bridge for the right to vote. John Lewis and Mrs. Boynton and Jose Williams that Sunday led the march. They were beaten and the nation saw it, shook the nation up. John Lewis always wouldn't make that big sacrifice. He did some recognition he deserves. Now he's a loyal person, strong freedom fighter. I want to thank Ms. Boynton, the head of Dallas County Legal Board, and Dr. King to come to Selma in the first place. When I was there in Selma, we visited her home. The King was in bed studying his books, Purvis to be and systematic theology about Paul Tillich, the Bible. He said he read a book a week. 2 books really, fiction and non-fiction book a week. Bill Will read, and of course we heard him, he talked, how much sense he made. So he came to Selma, Alabama, accentuated the significance of Selma to the movement, to the world. God does big things in small towns. Think about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, each in the home in Jerusalem. God has done a big thing in Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama flows the rest all about works once we had the right to vote. So when jurors, we changed America for the better. Going from one black official in Atlanta, 63 without King spoke in Washington, Leroy Johnson on the black official in the South, mayors of Birmingham, and Selma and Mobile and Montgomery and Tuskegee. Hotspots of our struggle. We had these racist institutions and often racist people. Now we have young black men who are in charge of these cities, black women who are building a new society, a new set of values. We must not deal with the issue of poverty, because it's just residing over poverty and unemployment is not enough. We need to first let education of our children become literate in the ways of the world. We're trying to get them students to register to vote. High school seniors should have a diploma in one hand and a voting card in the other at graduation. Rainbow Push led the march in Selma, Alabama. You see a different group sponsors the movement, the marches here. My friends, we did a lot of work here this week, and we have a lot more to do. 2 minutes ago on the march from Selma to Montgomery, here we're going to. We'll turn out this fall. If we vote our numbers and not our fears, we'll win this election. Stakes are very high.
The significance of this march is this year, we have been able to reassemble all of the elements of the marchers that started this in 1957. You have young people. Many of the people on that bridge and down this road, this highway, were young. Many of them were people of faith. And it's the people of faith that led the marchers, because it's just like in the Bible, God always sent the clergy, the praise team first. It's just biblical. And our weapons are not man-made. We have the power of the living God in us, and we must have the faith of God to know that changes have not come easy. There's been some bloodshed for every change that we've received, and we are now facing some difficult headwinds, as Dr. King talked about. There's some difficult days ahead. We've endured COVID-19, a health pandemic, which revealed all of the health disparities. We're in the midst of violence unprecedented in America. And we are in the midst of racial tensions that were very similar to what we experienced in 1957. And so even as it rains, it washes down. As it washes down upon us, we recognize there's a need for us to stand for justice, stand for truth, stand for mercy.
So it's important that we show the advocacy. Along with that, our ancestors are crying from the ground, and they're saying, don't stop. So this is a great opportunity for us, men of God, women of God, and people in general, students, young and old, to come and stand and march, saying equality, equal access, equal protection under the law, and also to equal opportunity. So that's very important now as well as in the future.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
What side are you on, my people? What side are you on? What side are you on, my people? What side are you on? L.A. Baker was a freedom fighter, and she taught us how to fight. We gon' burn all day and night until we get it right. What side are you on, my people? What side are you on? What side are you on, my people? What side are you on? What side are you on, my people? What side are you on?
Good morning, Rainbow Push. This is Cameron Barnes, the National Field Director at Rainbow Push Coalition, and I'm standing here with the Right Reverend Stephen Green, of course. We know him as a pastor and activist coming up. He's out of Harlem, New York, and he's a young face that's familiar with the movement and on the front lines of the battlefield. So Reverend Green, I just want to talk to you about the significance of 57 years this weekend. You've been here all week. You've been taking part in the marches across the bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, from Selma to Montgomery, and we're culminating here at the state capitol. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, thank you, Reverend Cameron, and to Rainbow Push, that we are showing that this is an intergenerational struggle, that from Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson all the way to the young children who came from South Carolina, that this is a intergenerational fight, and that when we make it here from the Edmund Pettus Bridge now to the state capitol, it's about a continuation of our legacy, a continuation of our struggle, and being renewed for the fight to go back into the field once we leave from here. You know, to get young people registered when they turn 18, to go to college campuses and talk to young people about the importance of voter registration, about the importance of fighting to cancel student loans. And so I think all of this fight is a good inflection moment for the movement to get the energy we need to keep moving.
Absolutely. And as we get that energy, I'm glad that you talked about voter registration and going out and voting for different things that pertain to our generation, like student loan debt. Right. Can you talk to the piece of what can the generation today, I'm talking about 25 and under, what can they do to be significant in this movement as we talk about 57 years since 1965 when we gained the absolute right to vote? What can they do now with that right to vote? What's the significance?
Well, sure. I think the reality is that they would not be trying to suppress the right to vote if it wasn't so precious, if it wasn't so sacred. And so we must use what we have and also ensure that we register and that we actively register at the address that you live now. And if you're in college, you can register to vote on your college campus. Use your dormitory address to register to vote if you're in this.
I pass the baton to you. And I'm asking you to fight not for my rights, not for your rights, but your children, your grandkids, your neighbors, your church members, our future.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the National Field Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition, here at the Alabama State Capitol with two of the most amazing leaders in social justice and civil rights, Tasha Brown and Cliff Albright. Black Voters Matter. Tasha, tell us, I mean, Wednesday was phenomenal, Cliff. Young people, labor, faith. Where are we now and where are we going?
You know, what we wanted people to know is this is what movement looked like. At the end of the day, that is the energy. Has always been young people who have led the movement. And what we saw even this past week, we saw young people who were actually leading the movement. We saw that people were from the Jewish community, from the Muslim community, from the Christian community, all were here. We're all here to actually be a part of this historic process, but also we recognize that we're commemorating what happened, but we still got work to do, y'all. We still got work to do.
Cliff, we're talking about a contract to disseminate across the country, mobilize, galvanize, and organize. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we got two things. We got a contract, that a voting rights contract that we want elected officials or candidates that are running for office at the federal level, especially at the Senate level, right? Because we're not going to go around trying to mobilize black folks and saying, you know, yeah, when we win these seats, we can get some voting rights. And they say, well, we were supposed to get that last time, right? How we know this is going to be different? We got to be able to say, because we got a voting rights contract, we got a pledge from these candidates where we're laying out 4 or 5 different bills. John Lewis Voting Rights Act, For the People Act, filibuster reform, DC statehood, right? Don't sleep on DC statehood. They got to commit to that up front if they want our votes, right? That's what we didn't have with Manchin. That's why he went up there and acted a fool. We didn't have that with Selma. That's why she went there and acted a fool. Anybody who's running this time, we got to get them to sign that contract and sign that pledge. That's how we're going to mobilize folks with a concrete agenda. And at the same time, we're doing a people's pledge too, right? We got our 1 million for voting rights pledge that anybody can do. Any community member, whether you can vote or you can't vote, you can still fight for voting rights, right? Even if you've had your rights taken away, you can still fight for voting rights. Even if you're under 18, you can still fight for voting rights. So we got that pledge. And if anybody wants to get involved, they can text us voting rights to 25225. If you can't remember the number, it spells black on your phone. 25225. And the words to send is voting rights, one word.
Black voters matter, black people matter. This is a great time, a historic time. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Reverend Mark Thompson, so many who are here at the state capitol, marching since Sunday. That's right. We'll talk about the vice president being here for Bloody Sunday.
The VP came to Selma for Bloody Sunday. There were also 5 cabinet members. And so what we're saying and lifted up, we're happy in this moment
to join us. It was historic. I mean, it's part of the work that was done here that opened up the path for there to be a woman, for there to be a Black woman, for there to be a woman of color. And so in that space, we want to remind people that we got to keep pushing forward. And in this region, we're hoping that we will continue to see the kind of support for this region, that this isn't just an event, that we really recognize that the roots of our resistance and our struggle is here. And so we have a responsibility to line up and build our power, to take care of our folks, and really recognize that voting rights is connected to economic justice rights. Right. And so this is an area that's been deeply, deeply underinvested. And so what we want to see is we really want to be able to lift up and see this area, the Black Belt region, and everywhere that Black folks live, everywhere that people live, that we have enough resources in this country to make sure that every single person has a home, that every single child has access to quality education, that every single human being in this nation gets access to health care. That is what we're fighting for.
That's right.
You all see now why I said what I said. Latasha Brown, Cliff Albright, Black voters matter, Black people matter, we are keeping hope alive.
We are here to continue to work because we know that the foot soldiers already paved the way. Now it's up to us to do the work that will bring this democracy to its real conclusion of being a multiracial democracy. So what do we do next? We got real work to do because every one of these 19 voter suppression states have to feel the pain that we're feeling for the Black of our vote. Enough is enough. It's our time to stand up. Stand up. Be counted in the way that counts. Hunger strikes, whatever we gotta do, school walkouts. We're gonna show them who we really are so they can count. They've counted on all this voter suppression to kill our democracy, but they forgot about one thing. Come on. One thing. One thing. They forgot about us. And we are unstoppable. Yes.
We want to give this award the Freedom Fighter of the Century Award on behalf of Janae and all the young next generation civil rights leaders in the Jubilee Bridge Crossing, the Freedom Fighter of the Century Club Award to Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the National Field Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition. And I want to thank you for joining our International Saturday Morning Forum. You know, we have really had an incredible experience, historic and overwhelming in terms of the weight of leadership and the weight of legacy all in one place in Selma, Alabama. The march from Selma to Montgomery was incredible, and we applaud the work and legacy and the efforts of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who led that first day. Hundreds of marchers marched that first day, along with organizations like the National Action Network and Reverend Al Sharpton, Black Voters Matter with Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright, Transformative Justice, Barbara Unwine and attorney Darrell Jones, Labor, SCLC, LDF. It was a moment in time that can never be repeated, and yet you can replay it on any of our social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I want you to know what this is all about. This is a time of mobilization. It's a time to galvanize, and it's time to organize. Some 19 states across these United States have enacted laws to suppress and to stunt the growth of Black and brown people and deny us economic justice, deny us social justice, equal access to capital, and free and fair elections. If these are matters that you care about, then this is your time to join the largest growing social justice army in America, Rainbow Push. Go to rainbowpush.org, hit us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and join us as we are keeping hope alive.
I want to invite you to help us bring to pass a vision that was given to Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. by the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King had a dream of 1,000 churches connected We got, 50 major markets. If we have 20 churches in those 50 major markets that would basically say, I'm going to connect with Rainbow Push. And in connecting with Rainbow Push, we'll do it on several levels. We'll do it by way of offering our financial support to Rainbow Push. I've already sent a check both to Reverend Jackson and to Rainbow Push because it's definitely necessary at this time that we understand the need to utilize our prophetic witness in an empowered fashion. I often say that while the Republicans are playing a game of power chess, the Democrats are trying to learn how to play checkers. Listen, we preach about power. We talk about power. The question is, are we going to wield power? Reverend Jackson says we can wield power with 1,000 churches around this country connected in investing in Rainbow Push, but also not only must we invest in Rainbow Push, I hope you join me and will contribute at least $1,000. I've done more than that, but you can do what God has blessed you to do. And then not only that, I want to encourage you, as Reverend Jackson is talking about, we need, just as we have Sunday school classes, we've got to have social justice classes and teach what it means to unite or reunite in holy wedlock, what never should have been divorced, Jesus and justice. That's what 1,000 churches connected can do. Imagine 1,000 churches throughout this country connected, wielding power. Watch this, as one, but at the same time doing all we can to make a difference in our respective areas, being fed, watch this, information as well as inspiration from Rainbow Push as a family and Reverend Jesse Jackson as our fearless leader. So I hope that you'll join me. Join 1,000 churches connected. That's a real good way to keep hope alive.
This week we want to add some additional birthday tributes. Omar Sharif, Darius Lawrence, and Kiasha Davenport. Happy birthday to each one of you. We thank God for your service and your hard work. And now I want to talk about two cases. One is Mr. Howard Medley. He has been wrongfully convicted of a federal crime of bribery and several other charges, has served a time, and yet he persists in his innocence based on exculpatory evidence that was not introduced at trial, and other trial errors that occurred and were not properly challenged during the course of his trial. As a result, Mr. Medley spent several years in jail. He has suffered severe illnesses and complications from his incarceration, and yet he has continued to persist in his innocence. So what do we want you to do? We want Mr. Medley to receive a full pardon and a declaration of innocence from either the governor of the state of Illinois or from the President of the United States. Both of them have the executive power to grant Mr. Medley a pardon and a declaration of innocence. And so if you want to help Mr. Medley celebrate his 95th birthday, let's help him get his name restored, his reputation cleared. Mr. Medley has been a civil servant for all of his life, and he has now reached the age of 95, and he wants the world to know, A, that he was innocent of all of the charges, B, he wants to be restored to wholeness, and his restoration requires him to receive a declaration of innocence and a full pardon. So if you want to help him, then call our two U.S. senators and urge them to push for Mr. Medley to receive a pardon and a declaration of innocence. Call the governor of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and send a message to our president, Joseph Biden, asking each of them to grant Mr. Medley a pardon and a declaration of innocence. Thank you so very much. Happy birthday, Mr. Medley. All of us have been watching the case and the charges that were levied against Jussie Smollett, the Empire star who was in Chicago for the period or the season during which Empire was being produced in the Chicago area. Jesse Smollett was charged with a nonviolent felony and reached a settlement with the prosecutor and his defense attorney, where there was a commitment for him to pay a $10,000 fine, which he to surrender his bond for $10,000 cash, and do community service. He did that, and then the judge, Judge Lynn, decided that that was not sufficient and that he should have a special prosecutor appointed to try the case, to override the settlement negotiations of the elected prosecutor, Kim Foxx. Why am I telling you all of this? Because we have a criminal injustice problem in America. In many cases, cases like Jesse Smollett, he happens to be famous, so we know about his case. Can you think of how many other defendants, African American defendants, who should have received that kind of settlement that didn't get it merely because they were black, merely because the state's attorney did not find it necessary or appropriate to give them a settlement in the case, where many white defendants get it all the time. At sentencing, judges have several factors that they can look at to determine what's a fair sentence. They look at mitigating factors, letters of support, talking about the character of the defendant, talking about what kind of activities the defendant had engaged in prior to the charges, prior to the trial. And they weigh that against the evidence that's brought out in trial as to whether or not the defendant had caused bodily harm to any person in the city, or had caused amounts of money or precious goods or services to be destroyed as a result of his actions. So when you weigh all of that, how then do you think Judge Lynn decided that Jesse Smollett, who had already been fined $10,000 in the settlement, now owes the city of Chicago $120,000, has to serve 5 months in jail and felony probation? That seems a bit excessive for this nonviolent crime. And he spent, Judge Lynn, being he, 45 minutes almost discussing in a very negative way the character, as he perceived it to be, of Jesse Smollett, never having had a personal conversation with him, never having heard from him other than during the trial itself. He forgot all about the mitigating letters, countless letters that were submitted from various people all around the country in support of Jesse Smollett. And so why am I telling you all of this? I don't want you to get into the innocence or the guilt of Jesse. The question is, was the sentence that he was given fair? Well, when we look at other sentences given in Illinois as an example, you look at the Jason Van Dyke in the Laquan McDonald case. You weigh his sentence versus Jesse Smollett's, it's excessive for what Jesse Smollett received. Secondly, Jesse Smollett, as most criminal defendants, have an automatic right to appeal. If the appellate court had not voted to release him on an appeal bond, he would have served time in jail, which would have been longer than the time for the appellate court to review his appeal. It would have been even more unfair for him not to be released on an appeal bond. Generally, trial judges, once you file a notice of appeal, they have the option and the opportunity to allow you to remain on bond pending the resolution of your appeal. I thank God the appellate court had enough sense to look at the law and move in Jesse's favor. And why am I telling you this? Because we tend not to care about the election. We don't vote for judges, which are always at the end of the ballot. We don't think about, these are people you're gonna see before you meet any of the other people. We don't even think about voting for state reps, state senators. Why are they important? They set the criminal justice rules and laws for every state. We need to know who they are. You need to know who your state rep, your state senator is. We have more people incarcerated than we have on the street, more African American males, as a matter of fact, disproportionate to our numbers in the population. And so voting is important. You and I must be registered. We must be voting because members of the Illinois General Assembly will be reelected this year. Why do we need to vote? because when you look at the county sheriff will be reelected, will be voted on this year. Those are the people that maintain the jails all around the state, all around the country. We have to focus, and we have to make sure that these judges who decide on cases in our jurisdiction, that they are fair and they will follow the rules. We must make sure that judges have sentencing guidelines so that they do not have to lean to their own discretionary ideas of what is fair and what is not fair. And so in state courts, we're looking for more sentencing guidelines for judges like Judge Lynn, who was not elected, hasn't been on the bench that long, who made an arbitrary decision based on a political move, and many of you may know this. This move was not about justice, it was a political move to attack the sitting state's attorney who had already handled this case. And now the judge summarily overrode the state's attorney's decision. I just wanted you to know the facts.
Good morning to you. My name is Todd Yeary, and this is Due Process. This past week marked 1 year since the horrific killing of 8 victims in a mass shooting that spanned multiple Asian-themed spas. 6 women of Asian descent were among those killed in and near Atlanta on March 16th of last year. The murders sent shockwaves of fear, anger, and anxiety among Asian American and Pacific Islander communities across the country, motivating many to stand in solidarity against Asian hate. Reverend Jackson visited with members of the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities as a sign of support, compassion, and partnership in fighting back against the trend of violence against people of Asian descent. To mark the anniversary, there were marches across the country, including in New York and Atlanta. The anniversary was noted by elected officials across the political spectrum. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu acknowledged the pain and sorrow that still lingers from a year ago. The hostility and violence directed at Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders showed a sharp increase after the stereotyping tied to the coronavirus pandemic and its origins in China became part of the political discourse, led by former President Donald Trump. The offender in the murders pleaded guilty in July to murder in one county, while pleading not guilty in Fulton County, where the district attorney is seeking the death penalty. In Russia, a court has extended the pretrial detention of WNBA star Brittany Griner until May. Griner had recently been detained at a Moscow airport in mid-February after a search of her luggage revealed vaping cartridges allegedly containing cannabis oil. If convicted, Griner faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Her arrest represents a subplot to the current armed conflict taking place in Ukraine. The tension between the United States and Russia holds potentially great consequences for the fate of the 31-year-old WNBA star. The United States State Department has reported that it is doing everything to support Brittany Griner and her family, and to ensure that she is treated appropriately while seeking her release. Griner has played in Russia for the last 7 years during the winter season, earning over $1 million per season. Prominent political voices have called for the release of Brittany Griner, including former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. It is unclear as to the progress being made in negotiating Griner's release, making the Moscow court's recent decision more concerning. We will continue to monitor Brittany Griner's case and encourage the Biden administration to do all within its power to secure her release. Forbes magazine is reporting that HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, have been underfunded by billions of dollars over the last 3 decades. In its report, Forbes noted that 18 public land-grant HBCUs in the South have been cheated out of billions of dollars in funding between 1987 and 2020 when compared to predominantly white institutions. Glenda Glover, president of Tennessee State University, spoke to Forbes, noting that there has been a great neglect of the funding required for public land-grant historically black colleges and universities, and that the underfunding of these schools leads to adverse consequences for their students. The data indicated that Florida A&M University, Southern University in Louisiana, and Prairie View A&M University in Texas are among the most underfunded institutions. The Forbes article indicated that, quote, several HBCUs had been underfunded by at least $12.8 billion. Many education policy experts agree that the history of underfunding represents the highest level of sanctioned discrimination. The public funding of historically black colleges and universities continues to be a significant area of policy concern for the Rainbow Push Coalition and its affiliates, Citizenship Education Fund and Push for Excellence. Together, all of the Rainbow Push Coalition family will continue to demand equity and fairness in the funding of historically black colleges and universities. This week, we will gather in New York City at the Sheraton Times Square Hotel to mark 25 years since the first Wall Street Project Economic Summit in 1997. That year, while the statistics indicated a strong economy overall, a deeper look at the numbers indicated disparities that belied the good news. African Americans were lagging in nearly every statistical category, among them healthcare access, educational attainment, workforce participation, and access to capital. The Wall Street Project was created to promote inclusion, opportunity, and economic growth by challenging public and private sector entities to expand business opportunities with minority and women-owned businesses on Wall Street and across the financial services sector, expand the representation of minorities on corporate boards and in C-suites, enhance capital access for black and other minority businesses, and build economic resilience and strength in communities of color through the 1,000 Churches Connected platform. The Great Recession of 2007 and 8 saw many community and black-owned banks stress tested out of existence or into mergers with larger regional or national banks. The access to capital dilemma saw black wealth decimated, while the racial wealth gap widened. Corporations continued to see record profits, while workers continued to experience hostility directed at any conversation of mandating a living wage that would support working families. The long recovery from the economic hardship extended into the second decade of the 20th century, with little effective movement toward more diverse boards and C-suites and equitable participation in corporate services utilizing African American and minority firms. Even as we are hopefully approaching the end of the current public health pandemic, the economic conditions 25 years later indicate that there's more work to be done. The past 2 years have seen COVID wreak economic havoc on global diversity in C-suites and on boards of directors, and the diminishing of contracts with diverse professional services firms, with some corporations even pushing back against the need for racial analyses of their operations, hiring, and promotion practices. While the fervor and outrage over the killing of George Floyd and other high-profile deaths has begun to wane, the related issues of access to opportunity and fairness persist. The racial wealth gap, housing inequality, access to capital, Public disclosures of diversity numbers across the corporate spectrum, and the need for a more intentional national policy that ensures equity and addresses the historical form that exclusionary practices have caused in and on communities of color, all point to the ongoing need for the work of the Wall Street Project Economic Summit. That is why we're coming together again, not simply to mark 25 years of doing this important work, but to lay down a marker that provides solutions to the current inequities still present on Wall Street and affecting Main Street. This year, we will convene faith leaders and labor leaders as we reconnect and rebuild these critical relationships that helped create the Black middle class and protected workers' rights. We will also convene discussions around the current state of participation for minority money management firms, as well as the economic implications of COVID recovery in Africa and across the international spectrum. Reverend Jackson will be honored as he rings the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange on Monday, and he will engage our strategic partners in an important conversation about current needs and the path forward to promote and create opportunities on Wall Street that enhance the economic value of the market for all communities, not just a few. Monday's convening will be in person and Tuesday's presentations will be virtual. For more information about the Wall Street Project Economic Summit and to register to participate, go to rainbowpush.org. That is this week's Due Process. I'll see you in New York, and we'll be back next week. Keep hope alive.
We're grateful that you watched with us today. Again, this is the place where you get some inspiration, some information, as well as some insight. I want you to join Push today. If you have not taken out your membership, we want you to join this movement. We need your support. Mission requires money. And so your donation today allows us to continue to do this great work all across the world. So if you have not, again, take out your 2022 Rainbow Push membership. It's only $35. And if you're in college or you're a young person, why don't you just give us a call or look online and we have a special price for you. But again, today we need your support. Join the hundreds across this nation and the thousands across this world that are supporting Rainbow Push, because the push is on and we have work to do.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's PUSH, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775. Or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.